Hey everyone, this is the DNA Money Podcast, and we are on episode 8
Eight.
today.
Nice.
Nice.
So today we wanted to talk to you about there's some common knowledge, some common sense around money and what it takes to be rich and successful and how much money is rich, how much money do you need to survive, how much money do you need to save and investing in
Yeah.
401k and all that stuff. So there's a lot of
Unknowns.
actually like people think they know about those topics. I just my personal opinion is that all of this is bullshit and all of this is like just lies and all that stuff. So
Very contrarian.
I mean maybe I'll change someday. Maybe I'll be like everybody else investing in 401k and hoping that by the time I'm 89 years old, I'm gonna be able to retire and enjoy my
Yeah.
life with $10 million that are gonna be worthless at that by that time. So maybe that's what's
And
gonna
then
happen. I don't know.
those that
But
gonna go towards healthcare probably.
yeah, and
Medical bills.
so yeah, so there is a book that a lot of YouTubers and people who talk about personal finance love to quote, and the book is Millionaire Next Door. And there is one prominent YouTuber, Dave Ramsey, he gives a lot of great personal finance advice on like how to save money, how to get rid of your debt, and how to get on the right path. And I think his advice is very good for the majority of people. So he'd be talking about, oh, like don't buy an expensive car on the money you don't have, and borrow the money and just like get stuck paying this debt that's just a bad debt anyway,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So like instead of buying a car, like let's say a person might make like 40 grand a year and he's gonna buy a car that's worth like I don't know 25, a new car. Instead of that, just go buy an old one
A
for
used
cash
one,
and
yeah.
just use the money other way, and
And
don't be car poor.
and David Ramsey is the senior guy, right? He's like
Yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah.
like 70
Have you
years
seen
old.
him?
No, but I think you mentioned it in
Mm-hmm.
one of our episodes, maybe a couple episodes before. And
Yeah,
you're saying that he is very anti-debt, right?
yeah,
And his whole strategy is focused on getting people out of debt and start living debt free.
yeah. So his whole personal story is like he was a real estate investor. He over leveraged and he lost all his money, all his portfolio.
Oh shit!
I think it was even like 90s or something or 80s.
And
So
he never recovered, really?
I mean, he now is super rich, but
Oh, his okay.
yeah, but he kind of built his new company. So I think he was super traumatized by that experience, and he built a company around that,
Mm.
around his trauma, pretty much. He built a company around telling people how to manage their finance, how to like pay down your debts, and how to not bother any uh, borrow any money for anything.
And
So
what's this? So okay, he used to have a real estate business,
yeah,
and this new company was more of a
it's a
like a
radio
consulting
show. He
residential.
no, he's radio show.
A radio show. Oh, got
Yeah,
it, got it.
so he
Okay,
kind of like an OG podcaster in a
interesting.
personal finance
Yeah.
industry,
Okay.
but his audience is mostly like Bible Belt people who go to churches and
Mm.
it's not a LA New York crowd that's like
Yeah.
um trying to flex on everybody, and I don't know how much are they flexing in New York. There's a different kind of flex in New York, I guess, but in LA it's just all about flexing. LA, Miami is like Lambos, Ferraris, flexing, like
Yeah.
Gucci,
Showing off.
Prada, like
Yeah.
so his whole and it kind of works for his audience, and he sells courses on how to get out of debt and how to get
Mm.
prosperous, like coaching sessions with like coaches from his company that he employs. Bunch of radio shows. I mean, he built a whole industry around it. He actually has a personal finance
pretty
app
cool.
too.
Okay.
So that kind of advises. I mean, I think it's just budgeting or something, but yeah, he's a very popular in that industry, and he's actually pretty good. But I don't really subscribe to all his advice, really.
Yeah.
But in one of his kind of approaches to building personal wealth is, okay, let's cover our debts and put all of our like investable money in 401ks that we can cover Roth IRAs and all that stuff, and then the leftovers we might like invest in real estate, or I mean buy a house, not invest in real estate. He doesn't really tell people to start businesses or invest into something. He tells people to like save money. Then so his whole approach is pay down your debt, get 6 months of income saved in a emergency kind of
Fund or account.
yeah, emergency fund, and then all the money that you're getting put into like retirement accounts, and then start spending money like on your house, maybe. So he says a mortgage for the house you live in is kind of fine, but he like kind of also discourages that too sometimes. So
Discourages mortgage on
your house. So he's like, buy it cash, or if you get a mortgage, pay it down faster, or get a 15-year mortgage. So like he's super anti debt.
Wow.
Yeah. So and after that, so like he'd be like, start maybe investing in whatever mutual funds and stuff. So super
ETFs,
conservative,
yeah.
super conservative, and his audience is conservative too. And not all of his like the people who call him, I expect who's gonna be watching us too, probably people in general in the economy in the United States. The average income is like 50 or 60 grand, right?
Per year, yeah.
Per year. I think it's even household income.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so like whenever we watch those numbers, it's actually not a personal average income; it's a household income. And the America doesn't count it as average. They calculate median, which is I think better than the rest of the countries do. So it's gonna be like 60 grand, and people who call them like they own like they earn like 40, 50, 60, 70 grand, something in that range. And of course for them that advice I think is crucial, and that's what I want to that's kind of advice I want to give people too, is that if you're not a super high earner, don't bother with all of those like financial tools. They're gonna hurt you, and I think they're designed to hurt you, kind of, because let's say you make 40 grand a year, then like you take in 3,500 maybe a month, taking home 2,500. Out of that, maybe you probably don't pay much taxes, so you're probably gonna take 3,000 $3,000 home. And if you live in the middle of America, that's fine. I guess you can cover your rent and like
Essential stuff,
essential stuff, but it's barely enough. And then if you try to leverage your moves, like by leveraging your moves, I mean like borrowing money from banks or other people, or doing like educational loans and stuff like that, then you might get hurt because you don't have that much cushion in your income to like cover all that in case something goes wrong. Because you have to have, I mean, for anybody, I think it's a great practice to have 6 months of income saved. Like that's where I'm trying to get to. It's kind of hard. I'm still saving money to get to that point. But I think it's an amazing tip for people to do. So like let's say 6 months of income. So I have a board. I might as well start writing. So let's say you have $100,000 a year is what you're making,
Yeah.
which is, I don't know if I
Let's
am
let's take an example of Los Angeles. I mean, since we
Los
live here,
Angeles.
I think.
Los Angeles.
No, I think 100K is or
You might be very wrong. I might burst your bubble again. I did it last episode, but actually, an average income in Los Angeles, I think average personal income is like $36,000 a year.
in Los Angeles.
Yep. I see
Really?
you're shocked, but yeah, that's an average personal, I think.
Okay.
The average household income in Hollywood here is somewhere around $68,000. So that's household though. So that's 1 to 2 people earning money
Right.
in a household.
Yeah.
They might be 50 years old, 60 years old too. So that's average. What an average person age is like 45 years probably in Los Angeles. Maybe in Hollywood it's younger.
Yeah.
Maybe 40 years. So average. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to comprehend sometimes for me, but it's kind of
And this is what? But this is median
medium.
number, right? Not
So
average.
50% of people make less than 60 grand. 50% of household make less than 60 grand a year.
A year in
and
Los Angeles.
50% make more in Hollywood.
In Hollywood specifically.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 60 grand, let's say. So 60 grand. Well, maybe. Actually, to be honest, I don't really believe those numbers.
So let's make it 100.
No, it's not. I mean, I think some numbers are kind of played with, skewed. Yeah, because so I've been to Pacific Palisades. If anybody lives in Los Angeles, they probably know what's that. But for anybody outside, so Pacific Palisades is like a very rich, wealthy suburb area in Los Angeles, right by the ocean.
Is it which direction is it? Towards
It's
like Long
north
Beach?
of Santa Monica.
North of Santa Monica.
Yeah,
or north of
on
Santa
the
Monica.
hills. Yeah.
Okay, got it. So
So
closer to Malibu then.
yeah, closer to Malibu. So when I went to, I was like walking around there, like it's a nice promenade, and then the streets are pretty nice. The houses are amazing. And I was just walking there. I was like, I wonder what the stats say on what people make here.
Yeah.
And you go online, and so the stats are the average or median household income in Pacific Palisades is like $120,000 a year. And that's a pile of shit. Because a median house in Pacific Palisades is probably like $5 million.
Yeah.
And so in order for you to pay so the mortgage on a $5 million house is gonna be like 20 grand. 25 grand. And 25 grand is already like 300,000 a year. You have to pay just in mortgage.
Yeah.
You have to live somehow also. And like
Yeah.
those guys drive Lexuses and BMWs. So it doesn't really make sense that they earn 120. Median is 120. That's just pile of shit. Just somebody's lying. And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I don't know how they record the income because they're
exactly.
rich and they can manipulate. But in average areas, I believe the income numbers are pretty accurate. In rich areas, I think it's pile of shit. So that's what I think. In poor
Yeah.
areas, I think it's bullshit too. Because what they're gonna do in poor areas, so people in poor areas, they work cash jobs and get benefits from the government. So in order to keep the benefits from the government, they're not going to record their income.
Right.
So it's actually going to be higher a little bit than they reported. In the rich areas, they don't report their income for different purposes.
Yes.
Yeah, and in
Interesting.
the average like middle class areas, the people are working W-2 jobs, so there's no way they kind of can really manipulate those numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, coming back to like $60,000, why were we?
I mean, I guess we're trying to calculate the living expenses, right? So if you make 60,000,
So yeah,
What?
$60,000 a year. That's $5,000 a month in a take take home income. But after taxes, that's gonna be 60,000. You're probably not gonna pay much taxes, but it's gonna be like 3,800 probably.
3,800. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the we were trying to calculate how much you need to save in the emergency.
Oh, for emergency funds.
Yeah, for
Yep.
emergency fund. So I don't know which number really you should go off of. Maybe actually he was talking about 6 months of 6 months of spending, maybe not income, but I'd say save 6 months of income, and I would even go extreme and save 6 months of
Gross.
gross income. Yeah, I like it. So the whole idea that I have behind it is that whenever you have 6 months of your gross income in your savings, you're pretty much invincible from whatever the job market is, whatever the stock market is, whatever the economy does. So pretty much, if you have 6 months of gross income saved, that's probably if the economy crashes and your job is no more, you can probably cut your spending too. And so by doing that, you can probably survive for a year on just your savings. And so in that case, in a year, if you believe in the American economy and in America, and you believe in yourself that you are a valuable asset to some companies or to the market, you're probably going to be able to figure out something. And you're probably going to be in a position to like find a new job, maybe change qualifications or do something.
Right. And also in a year, I mean, the economy is likely to
Bounce back.
bounce back or get in the in the direction of becoming better. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say your gross income is 5,000. That's household also. So multiplied by 6, you gotta save $30,000.
How do you do that?
How do you do that with that income? So let's calculate. So let's say you take home 3,800. $3,800 after taxes. So like let's say $1,200 tax. And so that's probably high. For $60,000, you're probably not paying much in taxes.
What's the tax percentage?
So tax percentage is 24%.
24%. Okay.
That seems reasonable. 7% you're gonna pay in FICO tax, and your employer is gonna pay 7%
On top of that.
on top of that. So if you're self-employed and make 60 grand, you're probably gonna pay 15% in FICA tax. And then federal and state tax. I don't think California tax. They probably do. They probably do tax you a little bit on that 60 grand, maybe a couple of percent.
Yeah.
Because of the brackets that they have. I think the small bracket is like 7% or 8%, but it doesn't start from 60. I think it starts from like 40 grand or something like that. So, and the federal, so 24%. Seems reasonable, right?
I think it does, yeah.
Yeah. So After that, you're left with 3,800 net. Um, 3,800 net. I mean, I'm not showing anything, but
Yeah, so
yeah, like
60,000 gross. Taxes are
1,200.
1,200. Yeah. And then the discretion or the net income per month is 3,800.
Yeah. So we are calculating Hollywood. So in Hollywood, I think if you're renting a shitty one bedroom, like there's mold on the wall and everywhere. What do you think the price is gonna be?
One bedroom,
Yeah,
probably 1,500. If it's like
1,500.
that
Yeah,
shitty. Yeah.
I think it's if it's pretty shitty, you can get away with 15, 16.
15 to 1,800, I would say. Yeah.
Actually, if it's super shitty, maybe 1,500 is a good number. So let's assume it's rent, because everybody has to pay rent, right?
Well, homeless
Unless
people
you
don't,
inherited something or live with your mom or something.
or live just on the street.
LA lifestyle. Yeah, if you do rent, that's gonna be 1,500 in Hollywood. So let's mark it as Hollywood. Yeah, $1,500. Like for a young adult, so this is household, so you probably gotta get your own place. But for a young adult, maybe you can live with your mom, and that's gonna save you like crazy amount of money. You can get to 30 grand super fast, like. But otherwise, you probably need a car. So LA, like if that would be
Yeah.
in New York, you probably don't need a car. But for LA, you
It's
definitely
necessary.
need a car. So what I would say for that person, like, don't go and buy a car, like lease a car or like
Or get
finance
a-
a car.
Or get a new car.
Yeah.
Do not get a new car.
Do not, because the thing with the new car is, first of all, you're gonna spend a decent amount of money on on payment, but people are talking about payment like that's everything that they pay. In California, it's, or at least in LA, there's crazy high rates for insurance too. So probably half of your payments for cars is going to be your insurance. Because when I lived in Seattle, I have a Golf, so it's like the value of a car is like
Volkswagen Golf.
new was like 30 grand. I paid $400 for it in payments. And I actually made this mistake. I was earning like 60 grand a year and I bought a car, and I'm talking from my personal experience here. It was pretty painful. Because
What was your down payment?
5 grand.
5 grand. Got it.
Yeah,
And that was back in 2018.
2018.
2018. Got it.
So, so in Seattle, I paid like $90 for my insurance, full coverage. When I moved to California, I'm paying like 200.
Well, you paid $90.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah. California is insane.
Crazy.
There are reasons why it costs so much, but I'm not gonna talk about it on this podcast yet. Maybe one day I'll
Yeah.
tell you guys about it.
I pay $360
For what?
full coverage insurance.
360.
$360
Why?
because I it's my first ever insurance. And that includes me and my wife.
Mm-hmm.
So it's for two people. But what's interesting, I think, when I was
And you both over 25, because under 25 you pay more.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, and I got it when both of us were over 25. And just for the note, my lease payment for a car, the monthly one, is $450. So my insurance is like
Almost
not
the
even
price
like
of
it's
your
like
car.
less, only $90, sorry, less than the lease payment that I make for a car, which
That's
is
kind of
freaking insane.
crazy. Maybe you should
Change my
should
insurance.
change your insurance policy, because they might have selected like
The-
super over insured your like medical and liability and all that stuff. So you might want to look into it too.
Yeah.
Because you are 26.
Churning in September.
Yeah. So it's got to be lower,
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I also don't
And
have.
your record is clean, right?
Yeah, no, it is clean. And I also don't have the U.S. driver license though, so
Oh.
that might be another thing.
Why,
But
why
once
don't you have
I
US?
don't know, man, just
Go to the
just
DMV
lazy
and
to
just
get.
it. Like,
Yeah, but I know that once I get it, and if I, it's gonna be a brand new license, right? And they won't have a new recording or record on me, so I'll have to restart. Like I have to start paying those high or like the highest risk insurance type like payments right away
wow.
as
Well, actually, when you call the insurance agency, I think they ask you how long, what's your driving experience. I'm not sure. Some do it different than
Hmm.
others. So you might want really consider looking into that because
I should.
insurance you pretty much waste your money. Like
Oh, cause mine actually expires this month.
your insurance.
Yeah, cause
Yeah,
it was a
that's a
6 month
perfect
policy.
time to like look into it.
Yeah, I have to look into. I have to see whether. Damn, I have to check whether
Yeah.
it's gonna be renewed very soon. Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah, because insurance is just burning money, but like pretty much sitting in a
And
fire
what's
unless you hit
what's your
somebody.
insurance?
Um, it's not that good. I
Okay.
want to change it too. So, but right now I pay like 160, 180.
Mm.
But I think it's not because they just lowered the premium. It's just because my car goes down in value over time. So
I see. Got it.
yeah. But in California, insurance is super expensive, and you gotta consider also like you're gonna pay for a car that's 400, 500 bucks. You're gonna pay for insurance if you're gonna pay 300 something, but that's kind of crazy to me. Like you should really look into it. But
Yeah.
that's 800 already. Let's say maybe 700. Be generous, because people like here they have driver license. They have driving experience from 16 years old, so they might get that better coverage than you do.
Yeah.
But then also you gotta like almost every other month you're gonna be doing the technical checkups on car. That's another 200-300 bucks.
Every
So
month you said?
every other month.
Would
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
Really?
That's really, yeah. I mean, on my car, some cars are different, but on my car I do like those technical checkups every 9,000 miles.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you drive through LA, like you go to Orange County, you come back.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess it depends on how much you travel.
Yeah, I mean, I like
Yeah.
to drive, so I'll go to my friends in Valley. I'll go to
Right.
Malibu, drive through canyons, go to Orange County pretty regularly. Sometimes I drive to Vegas. Like next week I'm gonna drive to Arizona.
Right. Yeah, you do way more traveling than I do.
Yeah, so like every other month it's pretty reasonable that you're gonna spend like so amortized per month. That's gonna be another like 150 bucks, let's say. And maybe also you have to buy like tires. You gotta buy windshield wipers. You gotta wash it.
Not necessarily.
But
Yeah,
reasonably, that's what you're gonna do.
Right.
You gotta put gas in the tank too.
Gas is a completely separate topic here. Yeah.
Yeah, like recently that went crazy. So your car, you might think that your payment is 500, but all together and also depreciation on your car. So like you're paying the percentage on it, and then it also depreciates like crazy.
Yeah.
If you buy it new. So all in all, you might be losing with depreciation. You might be losing like on a small car payment 500 bucks, but you might be losing 1,200 a month easy on a
Total.
car.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's in amortization. But in cash lost, let's say Like a new car is $700-800. Pretty reasonable.
Wait, a new car, 7.
$700-800 a month. For you, that's even
Okay.
just let's say 1,000 because you gotta put
Well,
fuel
but
in
I
the
think
tank.
in this case, if we're suggesting a person to get a used car,
Yeah,
do you still
but
wanna?
I'm just wanna just put the comparison between them. So let's say they spend like $800 on a car, 800-900. But if so, what you can do if you don't earn that much, you can buy a car like $6,000 cash will get you a decent car.
Yeah.
But saving $6,000 of cash is pretty challenging
Yeah.
too.
But let's say if a person already has that car, how much would they spend? Like if they
Couple
bought
hundreds,
couple hundreds, yeah.
couple hundred a month. But in LA, that's necessary.
Because I feel like if you're making that money, you're likely not gonna get a new car, right? And you're not gonna make
You would think
spend
that.
800.
You would think that. But people like that's
Yeah.
kind of income is where you're considered middle class. And that's kind of income people go, oh, I'm making decent amount of money, which it doesn't seem like. I mean, before I told them like one of the previous podcasts, like whenever I came to America, I was dreaming of making like 40 grand a year.
A year, yeah.
That was like my goal, and I thought that was good
Yeah.
income.
Yeah.
But at that stage, people they don't really know what's up with the money. Like it's hard for them, so it's hard to project.
Expenses or?
Yeah, so and it kind of seems that things cost less than they actually do.
Yeah,
and you
like
get
it's
into those.
yeah, it's the small things they add up.
Yeah.
You spend a couple of bucks here, a couple of bucks
Mhm.
there, and then or a couple hundred here, a couple hundred there, and then at the end of the month you're like looking at all those bills and oh shit, like I shouldn't spend that much on food or and going
Yeah.
out. And I think it's an important point to make as well, like in terms of inflation, right? Like gas went up by almost 50% in the
Mhm.
last year, and I think overall. In a year, on average, the inflation was around 8 to 9%.
Mhm.
And if you're making like 60 grand per year, 8% would be $4,800. So you're
Mhm.
making what 55,000 now, pretty much.
It's yeah, yes and no. You know, like it's hard to with the small numbers. I think inflation doesn't really work.
Affected that much.
No,
but,
I think
but still
it affects it more, but it's harder to calculate
realize it.
tangibly
Yeah.
how much actually it does affect you. Yeah, so the right budgeting should get you over that gap with the inflation and stuff.
Yep.
So like I wouldn't sweat losing like, I mean 8% is a lot. That's kind of crazy numbers right now, but I wouldn't sweat the inflation numbers that much. Like, what are you gonna like offset the inflation? What are you gonna do with 60?
No,
grand a year?
you're not. Yeah, but
So like even like thinking about inflation, if you're making 60 grand a year, is kind of distracting you. I think.
Yeah, but I think I just think it's still important to like realize that, because some people,
Maybe
because like
but
you could have like 5 grand set aside, or maybe
Mhm.
okay, not five in gross income, right? But 3 grand set aside somewhere, but instead this 3 grand of potential, value has evaporated because the prices went up.
who cares? I mean,
No, that I care.
no.
No, I agree. Look, it's not a very
So you shouldn't.
great effect or too big of an impact, but
Mhm.
you still like have to keep in mind that that's what inflation means.
Yeah, I think you shouldn't focus on inflation at all. Like, what you should focus on is your spending. if you're making that much money. So there's two ways to come at this problem. We'll talk about the other way maybe later. But one way is to cut spending, and the other way is to grow your income.
Increase income. Yep.
And both of them, I mean, the latter one is easier to do when you have 6 months of income saved, because you can think different, invest in the education, and you can spend
New skill
money
set.
on the job market, looking for better opportunities. If you
Mhm.
have money set aside, if you're struggling to like come by with like $1,000 every month, then
Yeah.
you're in no position to negotiate salaries and stuff like that. So um,
So 800 to 900 for the car expense.
for the new car, new-ish car expense, let's go through the average kind of math, the average case, and then do the suggested case, and
Yeah.
then calculate how much savings gonna take you in the first case and the other
Yeah.
other one. So let's say after rent, you got 2,300 left, and then after car, you have 1,400 left. So, which is decent amount of if you could save that. But then there's also food, right?
Yeah.
Food. So I don't have data on how much Americans on average spend on food, but that would be probably around for the household. So we're calculating household. The minimum guess is like $600.
Per month.
Yeah, what do you think?
Minimum. Yeah. So
In
I.
LA.
Huh?
In LA. Because the prices are lower in other places.
Yes. Yeah. So I would say definitely you can save a lot of money if you don't go out and like if you don't eat, at the restaurants or cafes. So eating at home will save a lot of money, not time, because it takes time to cook food. But I think on average, what I found for myself, if you when buying groceries for a week, like for me and for my wife, it'd probably be like on average $150 for 5 days. I would say 5 to 6 days, because on weekends we usually go out and have dinner somewhere, and like brunches. But yeah, for like 5 days, $150 is enough. And I'm talking about not just crops or like junk food. I'm talking about vegetables, fruits, meat. So like normal standard good food.
So you'd say it's possible to 500?
Yeah, I think so. For a household, yes.
500. So after food, you have left $900. And then food. What kind of other spendings do people usually
I think
have?
for discretionary income, right?
Shopping, you'll do some shopping. Like
Do
you
some
have to
shopping,
buy
yeah.
something.
Or like go
every
to like
month.
movie theaters, or
Yeah.
just you would still go out with your friends, right? You can't only like eat at home and
So the Ramsey's thing, it was rice and beans, rice and beans. It's like his slogan, like just don't do anything
Man.
other than save money, and don't go
Rice
out
and
with your
beans.
loser friends and stuff like that. So,
Yeah,
but I mean,
it's tough.
see, if you're in a hole, in a financial hole, and you want to get out of it,
Yeah,
maybe it
yeah.
makes sense. So I remember back in 2019, I so I stopped drinking completely, stopped pretty much going out at night, stopped wasting money, because I was starting my own startup, and I quit my job, so I only had like 6 months, 7 months of
Income saved,
spending saved.
spending saved.
Yeah. So I stopped doing all that, and that helped me a lot. So I pretty much didn't spend any money. And
Did
but
you lose a lot of friends?
Not really. No, no.
Those loser friends.
No, I actually had cool friends, but still, like, if you wanna achieve something in like personal finance space or in, like business stuff, then sometimes you have to kind of do those sacrifices.
Yeah. Suffer a
Yeah,
little bit.
and it sucked really.
Mm.
It kind of, yeah, like there's you constantly feel that you're missing out,
Mm.
but maybe in the long term it pays off. I back then I stopped drinking, and since then I really don't like
Mm.
drink at all. So like I might have a beer or two, or
Yeah.
like
Glass of wine.
once in a blue moon, but
And you used to be a pretty heavy drinker back then?
not really. But I would go out with my friends to clubs and bars, and
I
we
see.
would have fun there. And
Yeah.
so like we would meet at my friend's house and drink there, and I mean regular stuff. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it like heavy drinker. But of every time you go out to a bar, I mean, or a club, you gotta spend money there, like
Yeah, and obviously like one drink is
taxi.
like at least $15 to $25.
Yeah.
Get 10 of those. It's like
10 of
150,
those,
250.
Okay.
Or 5 of those. It's still expensive. Not accounting for food.
Yeah. So I stopped doing that. I was eating pretty much at home, and that helped me a lot. But yeah, shopping. So let's say what you probably need
I'd say
500.
Yeah, I'd say like for 400 to 500. Both shopping and like just fun stuff, entertainment.
Yeah, entertainment, hanging out.
And you also have the subscriptions, right? Mostly, most probably for like Netflix or any other entertainment or streaming services, games.
Yeah. Anything, and pretty much anything we can fit in here. And people might think that these numbers are crazy, but that's because like people who make like 60 grand, they might think, oh, I'm not spending that much. And when you actually look at how much you spend, you probably spend more. And yeah, so I was always surprised whenever I did budgeting. I was always surprised. Oh, how did that happen? Like how did that happen? How did I spend so much
more?
Yeah, then
than
so
budgeted.
like I'll be budgeting like, oh, I'll spend 500 bucks this month in food, and I wouldn't really go out or do anything and still spend more. So I was always overspending, and I think I still overspend on my budgets. I just, at least I kind of know where I'm at with my budgets, and yeah. So shopping, like you have 400 bucks left after shopping, and so that's a pretty optimistic. I'd say for an average American person who makes 60 grand, and lives in Hollywood, that's a very optimistic outlook, because most of the American people, they don't really have any savings
At all.
at all. Yeah. So 400
Yeah, I
bucks.
feel like I've heard somewhere where if you have a net worth of 0, you're like better than 70% of people or something like that.
Yeah, I heard that too. And also there was that stat that most of Americans cannot cover an expense of 500 bucks. Oh, an unexpected expense of 500 bucks.
Wow.
So they don't even have like 500 bucks saved for like emergency.
That's insane.
So having 400 bucks after all of this like spending, we probably forgot something here, would be pretty optimistic. And in that case,
health insurance.
Yeah, well, that's there it goes, 400 bucks. But let's consider because with the insurance here, it's
crazy.
It's insane. Like I can believe sometimes that things can cost that much.
How much do you pay in insurance? Or do you pay for
I
it?
pay 440,
Got it.
and I think my employer covers half and doesn't cover anything, really. Never
Really?
used it.
Wow. I'm paying $650 for
Mhm.
me and for my wife, and my employer doesn't cover anything.
Mm.
So, and I mean, it is a pretty good insurance. I think that the regular copayment if you have a doctor appointment are like $35.
Mhm.
But then if you get into emergency room, you have to pay like 200 something dollars, and so it doesn't cover everything, but it's still a better
See,
plan.
650 doesn't even come in here. It doesn't fit. So
Yeah.
at this rate, 30 grand um, divided by 400, that would mean um, it would take you 75 months to save 30 grand. Um, that might be an extreme case. If you're earning this kind of money, maybe earning 6 times of your gross income doesn't make much sense. Maybe try earning like 6 months of your net income. So that would be of 38 3800. Um, try to save that like 6 times that. That would be 22 grand. Still
Mm.
gonna take you a wild amount of time.
Yeah.
So if you
75 month, how many years is that?
75 months, that's the 6 years, 6.5,
Yeah.
6 years and 3 months, I guess. Yeah.
Wait, 60 plus 76. Yeah, no, it's around 6 years.
Yeah.
A little bit less than 6 years.
Okay.
A little bit
So
more.
yeah, but 6 months and 6 years and 3 months. Public math is always hard.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. That's kind of an insane goal to have, and to wait 6.5 years to be able to invest back into yourself. I mean, that's not a good approach either. So for that person, I'd say maybe save less than 6 months of gross,
Or cut your spendings. I'd say like.
and cut your spendings.
Hmm.
So let's say you are able to, I don't know, like borrow money from your family or something and invest it into a car, like an old beater, like I don't know, $6,000 Toyota. They're very reliable, probably not gonna explode on you.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's not gonna be a new Toyota or a new
And
German car or whatever people like, but it's gonna be very beneficial to you in long term. So like maybe drive an old car now and then drive a BMW in the future. Like, I mean, there's no need to chase those Beamers and Mercedes when you make 60 grand. And
yeah.
you would be surprised how many people actually get those cars
Oh, I'm
when
sure
they
there
make
is a
so
lot.
little.
Yeah. And that's because like you wanna, you're buying that to impress other people, like your friends,
Yeah.
and you wanna, I guess, show that or have you're basically faking and like lying to yourself, right? Because like in the
You
short term.
might think that you're so that you deserve it. So the weird thing about this kind of income is that you are better off than half of the population. So like it's a median income, 60 grand. You're better off than half. So you might think that you already deserve those kind of things. Um, Maybe you do, but you shouldn't buy them.
Yeah.
It's
Yet.
kind of hard thing, and the banks are gonna give it to you. That's the other thing. And if you don't have a financial kind of education, like
Literacy.
street financial education, that this is not a good idea to do. Um, so yeah, that might hurt you. And also, like I would understand spending money on like cool cars and like luxury cars in case you're trying to get into some club. So like let's say like a Ferrari is a certain club, like a certain
Like
um
a close community or like close
community
circle.
attached to it, yeah.
Yeah.
And but at these price ranges you're probably not gonna get into those. And then so maybe like for somebody who's earning like $1 million a year, it might make sense to buy a Ferrari. And then so they can get exposure to more opportunities through networking with people who also own Ferraris. Like you can go to the car meets to race, um, to the races and stuff like that. Some benefits that the membership in those clubs gives you. But for um, for a person in the middle class to buy a nicer car, that doesn't give you any leverage really.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah, somebody's gonna see that you drive a new car, but believe me, like if they are financially literate and they make more money than you, then you're not gonna be able to impress them. Yeah.
And also, I don't know why people are getting this super, like something they can't really afford to like impress other people. Because, okay, let's say you have this nice car, and let's say like you want to impress, like get like I don't know, attract some girls or guys or whatever. Yes, it may work for the first time, but like you go out, let's say with them, obviously they expect you to to bring them to like a really nice restaurant or to a really expensive place or spot. And then yeah, you can still fake it and like drop a couple of hundred or several $100s for a dinner, but then it's gonna hurt you more. And then you're probably not gonna have like a super luxurious apartment, right? So whatever, like I don't know, it just faking it hurts in the long term for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, it may seem cool in the short term, but overall it's gonna hurt so much more. So I think it definitely worth, it's good to have that inspiration, right? And be inspired to achieve those goals and like get those really nice things, but like you have to get there and you have to be comfortably able to afford those things.
Yeah. So out of those things, I think so. It's unreasonable to expect a person to cut down their food expenses, and it's really not reasonable to cut down on shopping $500 a month. That's, I mean, there's something is gonna come up. Like you need whatever you need to buy something like lamps, like your toothbrush. I mean, you have to buy stuff every month, and so it's also in Los Angeles. I mean, for a household, so like if there's two of you, it's unreasonable to expect you to pay less than $1,500 a month in of rent.
But that's if you're renting like a 1 bedroom, right?
Yeah.
If you're doing, well, honestly, even if you're splitting a 2 bedroom, like a average 2 bedroom apartment in a, like, let's say Hollywood, right? It's gonna be around $1,500.
Maybe it's gonna be like 1,200.
Yeah. I think if you get it to 1,000, that's an amazing. So maybe get like an apartment where you can live with 3 people.
If you're a young adult, young professional, then you probably can figure out how to decrease rent. But for the household or for a couple, it's pretty unreasonable.
Yeah.
And then what you really can come down on is the car. You can buy an old car or like ask your parents for help, or I don't know, like figure something out and buy an old one, and it's gonna serve you for years, and you might only like spend like 200 on that, and that's gonna increase. So like that's gonna double this amount, and that's gonna decrease the amount of time you need to save an emergency fund much
faster. With car spending though, I think, I mean 200 That's probably gonna be the price or spendings without not accounting for gas, right?
Um, you could account for gas too. Like if you buy an old Toyota, it doesn't really eat a lot of gas. Don't buy a like 6 liter
Yeah, no,
old
obviously.
truck or old American car that's like
And I feel like it's even worth maybe spending a little bit more at first on like Prius or something like a hybrid car, and then
uh,
overall save more money on
Priuses
gas.
are very expensive though.
Yeah, they're expensive though. Yeah.
So and they hold their value, but you gotta put down a lot of money to get them.
Do you think they're expensive because there's just so much demand
Yeah,
in
there's a lot of
California?
demand. They're very reliable. They are great gas mileage, and they're very economically sound if you wanna do Uber and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's a good idea to buy put down a little bit more money and buy a fresher like Prius, and then side hustle and increase that amount by like
Mm.
20 grand maybe.
Yeah.
So, but Uber is not a like there is a lot of I make like 5 grand in Uber a month and 10 grand Ubering. That's whole
It's not
bunch of
true.
bullshit. Yeah, it's a lie. And but you I mean if you do it full time like those like Uber drivers that
They
we all
don't
like,
sleep.
yeah, they don't sleep. They have like I recently got an Uber and the guy had like 11,000 trips. I'm like, that guy doesn't sleep at all. And then you can see like the way he structured like environment around
In the
around
car?
his in the car. It's like everything is like within reach, and
They also have different phones and like different apps running on those phones.
he might have multiple phones.
Multiple phones, yeah.
It's crazy, but he practically lives in the car, so he might be able to make like 60, 70 grand doing Uber, but that's not something you want to do. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it unless you're really struggling to get some money and you stuck with an expensive kind of an expensive new car. Then
Mm.
maybe Uber it's at least gonna justify spending that money on the car. Um, so so let's say you come down on the car part. Um, then what's gonna happen is, so let's say you spend 200 on the car. That's gonna mean that you after the car spending you have 2,100 left, and after that you have after food you have 1,600, and after shopping you have 1,100. And so that takes us down from 75 months to only like 28 months.
Nice.
That's too long too. Um,
But it's way better than 75 months.
that's way better.
That's 2 years and what, 4 months?
Yeah. So, um, so clearly only focusing on like cutting down your costs, and most of the Americans are also gonna have like education loans. They're gonna have credit card loans. They might have whatever else they might have, like crazy spending habits and like crazy food spending. And so this is a very optimistic. This is a very
Lean.
person that's very strict with their finance. So those are the best case scenarios, and they are even like unreachable for 50% of the population, based on the numbers that government gives us. So
It's crazy.
yeah, so personal finance is very important, and clearly you're not getting anywhere really soon. At least like if you can stick with it for 28 months, of course, by any means do it. And going on in the future, that's gonna open a lot of new opportunities for you, and that number, the 60 grand number, is gonna go higher. But for the most people, 28 months. There's no. I don't believe personally that there is a person that as disciplined as that
to do that.
to stick
For 28
for
months.
28 months. Maybe if they're like older, maybe if they're like 40, 50 years old, they can comprehend like having certain lifestyle and capping their spending for like 3 years almost.
But it's probably, I mean, it's a matter of a habit, right? So if you probably the first 6 months to a year would be tough, but after that, it's gonna be easier
I don't know.
because you can get used to it.
For a young person, I don't think so. It's gonna be hard. So like for you as a young person, a year or 6 months seems like crazy amount of money or crazy amount of time.
Yeah.
For an older person, maybe, I mean, 2 years is whatever.
Yeah.
Like so that's not even including like having kids, spending money on kids, like kindergarten, schools, school supplies, putting money in a college fund, and all that. So I can only imagine like what's going on there. And so cutting down your spending might be not the. You have to still be diligent with your spending, but the most important thing is to increase your income. And you can. And the best thing is if you can increase your income and keep your spending at the same level for as long as you can do it. Because in that case, the gap is just exploding, and you can save and invest much more money much faster. So like between a person who makes 60 grand a year and a person who makes 120 grand a year, and if they can keep their spending at the same level, then the person who's making 120 grand a year, they are able to deploy maybe like 10 times more capital into investments and businesses and education and bettering themselves and all that stuff. So because of that gap, it just like as we calculated right now, it's like at 1100 you might be able to save after at the end of the month if you're super diligent. If we increase those numbers, if we double those numbers, of course the taxes are going to be there, but let's say it's 120 grand a year person, it's 10 grand gross, probably 65 grand or $6,500 you're gonna have net after taxes, maybe six grand, I'd say.
At 120?
Yeah.
No, I think it's gonna be more.
More? Maybe 65.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have 65 net, and that's gonna increase that. Instead of 1,100, you're gonna have 3,800. I think 3,800 is the number every month left. If you can keep the same spending pattern. That's including after taxes, after all that. So with 3,800 a month of saving, that's only gonna take you what, like 7 months to save 30 grand. But I mean, of course, your
spending per month is gonna go higher.
Yeah, so
you have to save more money.
You gotta save more money, but that's like less than a little more than half a year is much better than like 3 years. That's and then all of the money that you are saving, you can deposit into like businesses, deals. You can buy cars, flip cars. Like every month you can increase your like business revenues, and like there are so many things that open up for you once you reach that level if you can keep the spending low. If you increase your spending with it, then there is no point.
But the money that you save, 6 month worth of your spendings, like this is still gonna be emergency funds,
Yeah.
right? So you're not gonna like play with it. You're not gonna
No.
invest. I mean, you may invest it in some like not risk free, but low risk assets, but like you're not gonna invest it into businesses or anything like
Yeah.
that, right? So you need to, after you save for half a year, you need to save more money on top of that.
After you build that emergency fund, you'll get that discipline to keep saving
No, to
that
keep
money.
saving. Got it.
But then the new money that you get now, you don't have to put into emergency
yeah,
fund. And so you get to deploy all of that money into some deals,
right.
some business, some investments, and that's gonna separate you like crazy. Like imagine we would for this podcast, me and you both decided, okay, like starting next month, like we would have this emergency fund saved. As I said before, I don't even have that emergency fund saved yet because I was in between jobs for a long time and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So trying to build my own startup and putting money there too. But let's say we do save six months of worth of income, and then we like, let's say we can deposit $4,000 every month into this podcast. Imagine what could happen to it, right? So like $4,000 you invest, I invest $8,000 a month. We could like we could build a super professional studio. We could like hire producers. We could probably hire 2 people like to work on it full time. We could have people like reach out to sponsors. We could have people reach out to like guests and invite people and build a crazy show. Around the money.
But that would be a almost full time job though, right?
No, we would hire producers and they would do all that. They would set up meetings with the guests and we would just come in, do the same thing. The producers would do the rest of the work. We would pay them both. Like one producer is probably enough, and we would pay them. I don't know how much a producer makes, like maybe 50, 60, 70 grand max full time. We don't even need full time producer. Maybe
yeah. No, for sure,
we would, and then we would invest into. So like you get if you get to that point, you get to, and you can generate massive action against your business, and whenever you generate like massive action behind something, you can get to results like super fast, and that would be a different game. But since no, I mean, I am not in that place yet. I think you're not either. I don't know about your situation, but we are not able to do those things, and then we get the results that we're getting. So, and for somebody making 60 grand a year, if they get that saving, what I did the same thing. So I was making like 60 grand a year, and I saved like 6-7 months of my spendings in a bank. And at that time I was renting a room in a house in Seattle with my friends, so I would pay like $600 for a room. I was paying for my car, which was a mistake, so I was paying like $700 for a car. Food, 300-400. I was kind of cooking at home. Shopping, I wasn't doing any shopping really, and all in all, I was like spending $2,000 a month. So I think I had like 14 grand saved, and so that was enough for me to learn new skills, try to build a business, launch a business, even invest something in marketing, try it out, fail, and go into a new opportunity. And after I went for a new opportunity, I got paid like 2 times more than I was making before that. So and the same thing I did when I was making like 40 grand doing delivery jobs. I saved 9 months worth of income. But back then, my spendings were even less. Like I was probably spending like 1,300 a month. I was paying like I was sharing a room with my friend, so I was paying like 300 for a room. I didn't have any car, so maybe I was even like 1,000 something I was spending a month just for food, shopping, and stuff like that. Education. I was spending a lot on education, like not a lot, like 200, 300 bucks a month. I was spending on education for sure. And I saved like 9 months worth of spendings. I think I had like 8 grand saved, and so 8, 9 grand saved, and then I like quit my job and dedicated myself to learning how to code. And I was able, in 9 months, I was able to get a job in Microsoft. So, but that couldn't happen unless I did that.
Yeah.
And so every time I'm able to get to that point, and I'm able to secure myself, I'm able to think outside of the box. Like I can double my income. So like I went from 40 to making like 65,000. So that's not a double. That's like 60% increase, but that's a lot.
Yeah.
And then I went from making like 60 to making 110. So that's almost double too. And that's all in the span of like year and a half. That's all because I had that saving, and of course I was investing into like bettering myself, bettering my knowledge, and that kind of continues to this day.
Yeah.
Maybe not. I'm not doubling like every year or two anymore, but
For
still.
sure. Yeah, no, I think yeah, it's certainly important to be able to save up, because once you have, as you said, 6 months, and it just opens up new opportunities. But it does take a lot. It does take courage to be able to make that decision and like actually dedicate yourself, and be disciplined to stick to your goal, and like educate yourself, and then try to shoot for new opportunities. I don't think every person is capable of doing that, just because you need to have enough of drive, and be strict about your achieving your goals. But yeah, I think especially if you're in like in your mid 20s or like even 30s, taking that risk is important. And it's sometimes it takes like it is needed to get on the next level.
But the whole thing is that
you have the cushion, and you have like,
the cushion, so
you have money to do
not
that.
really risking like complete failure, devastation, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
But still, like quitting your job and like learning something new, not knowing whether you'll be able to get a job or not, it's still some kind of risk.
I was pretty confident that I could do that, but I mean,
Yeah.
for
Yeah. No, in my case, I think after college, I went through, some extra educational program, dedicated to, like investing, and in particular in private equity markets. And I expanded my network there. And like that's how I met, the founder of the firm that I'm working with right now. And when I joined the team, honestly, the pay was was minimal. Like it wasn't even a salary; it was a stipend. And I wanted to work at a new company. So it was definitely a startup, and we were 3 people at first, and I was like one of those 3 people. And I lived. It was in San Francisco back then. I was renting like a room in a 3-bedroom apartment, which was, damn, how much was it? 1,200 maybe, something like that.
for a room.
For your room,
I mean,
yeah.
San Francisco is
Yeah, it is.
crazy.
Yeah, it's
And that
crazy
was
in
like
there.
3 years ago.
Yeah, it was in 2019,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I was renting it, and I lived in a room, and then I moved out of there, and we kind of moved in with the founders of the firm. and I lived in, in the living room. They had like 2 bedrooms. I lived in the living room, so it was a 2 bedroom apartment in San Francisco, and I would like sleep on the fucking couch for almost half a year. And then I slept on a blow up mattress, and I remember how it was like cold sometimes, and I would even sleep in like with my hat on and like jacket on. But I knew that it's worth taking that risk. I had some, I guess, money saved up from like my college days. Not much, but that stipend kind of covered my. So I lived in an apartment for free,
Mm-hmm.
but my the stipend that I had was enough to cover food. And I remember I didn't even pay for bus tickets at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I was taking like those for free all the time, like trying to save some money there, because per month it was like $75, the monthly pass, and I wouldn't get it, and I would just ride free for like almost 4 or 5 months. So that was funny. And then as the company grew, the my salary increased, and then we moved to LA. In LA, the COVID hit. We rented a house and we lived there, so I was still getting like a little higher stipend, but the housing was provided for free to me. So I was able, because we didn't spend that much in COVID, like I was able to save that some money, even without, even with a low salary. And then when the company started like really growing a lot, then I also experienced growth in my salary, and that's so. In my case, it was definitely worth taking a risk. Like more than I don't know. It's like 10x my initial stipend that I was getting over like 3 years. But you can't really say 10x here because the base was so low. But it's still a great experience.
Yeah, but it's definitely a 10x though. I mean,
yeah,
it's still
mathematically speaking, yeah.
yeah. But yeah, guys, so save your money and then invest whatever. So we came to that from talking about Dave Ramsey's framework, and where after that emergency fund is accumulated, he would say that either save money for the down payment or and invest into 401ks, IRAs, max it out, and all that stuff. I don't really believe in that. I'd say save this money. If you're making 60 grand, or whatever, 100 grand, 200 grand, like save that money, invest into learning how to get to the next level, and or if you're making like, if it's kind of hard to get to the next level, then or in your company or whatever you do, then think on how can you generate money. It's like build a business, invest into your friend that does business, invest into some deals, like invest into real estate, or like it opens a lot of opportunities for you, and you get to take much bigger actions on that. So as I said before, like imagine we both spent like 4 grand on this podcast. I mean, the difference that would make is just it's hard to think about.
Yeah.
It's how different that would be. So, but big action pays off. So,
and big risks as well.
Well,
calculated risks.
Yeah, but if you have those this cushion, then you don't really risk at all.
Yeah.
What was it's just you play.
Just your time, I guess. That's it, right?
If
half a year is nothing.
Yeah, if that's an investment, and you're starting to do some, like with the money that you're gonna have, still put it into something that's gonna benefit you long term. So for example, for us,
Right.
this is this podcast, right? So we're gonna benefit from it long term, even if nobody is watching it. Yeah, we're gonna know how how to do sound, lights, video, how to upload things to YouTube, how to promote things, how to think about how to do speech, how to think of engaging topics, how to generate content, and that's gonna be beneficial for even for like your venture funds, and then you're gonna help your companies generate some content, traffic, and knowledge, and how to make like advertisement engagement for products that you are releasing, or there is a lot of benefits to
for sure
to this, and whenever you guys gonna have all this income, don't spend it on crypto. Like unless that's your primary thing that you're gonna be doing next 10-20 years, whatever. Just, I mean,
not even stable coins,
especially on stable coins.
Terra.
Yeah, Terra UST. So yeah, guys, I guess we can conclude this podcast with that. I'll show this one more time, and so maybe next time we'll take a different example based on some other numbers, and yeah, I have a whole rant in my head that on how government lies to us about like numbers and how much people make, and all these stats are foolish and bullshit, and but yeah, so maybe we'll do that or something else. Okay.
Cool. No, thanks for the example. I think it's definitely useful and valuable, and I'm like looking forward to do the same exercise for myself as well.
Sure.
So.
Maybe we can do that exercise for you next episode or something.
Definitely should. Cool. But thanks everyone. Thanks Alex for the special personal finance 101 class, and
that's not even 101. I'd say it's
01
30 or whatever. Personal finance 30. That's what they should have told you in high school or whatever.
But for sure.
A lot of people don't learn that until too late.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. Thanks everyone who's watching us. Please subscribe, comment, like, tell about us, tell your friends about us, and help to spread some awareness. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.